Legacy Maker, the All Sports Network.
It's the 4th annual Legacy Maker Sports Network NFL First Round Mock Draft, the 2021 edition.
Hello, everybody. Darrell, Owens, Legacy Maker Sports Network, and we are here with our 4th annual NFL First Round Mock Draft. I cannot believe we're into our 4th year of doing this, and we've got a very exciting show for you today. We're going to give you the first round. We got a great set of GMs we're going to say for this one. They're going to pick for the teams. I got 4 guys up here, and those 4 guys have 8 picks apiece. Let me go ahead and introduce you to the guys on the panel. First, we got Mr. Jeremiah Quimby, co-founder of the Legacy Maker Sports Network and host of the Legacy Maker Sports Podcast. What's up, Jay?
How much? Draft time, yeah.
Next, we've got our man, Mr. Lamonte Thomas, who is the co-host of the Commonwealth Sports Talk here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. How you doing, Lamont?
I'm doing good, man. I'm ready to get this mock on. Ready to get it on and popping.
Exactly. Then we have the man of many dreams and many titles, Mr. Robb Johnson, the host of the No BS Sports Zone and Ram Talk here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. I can go on and on because there's a couple more. Robb, how you doing, brother?
I'm absolutely terrific. I am happy to be here, and I hope everyone has a blessed night as we give you guys the best in draft coverage.
That's right, Robb. And of course, last but not least, social media guru here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and avid Giants fan, Mr. Cody Stewart.
What's going on, y'all? The best time of the year is right now. Draft time. It's my favorite time, so I'm ready to get this over with.
Yes. It's like Christmas, y'all. I mean, I can't believe it crept up. We are about a couple days away from the draft, getting rocking and rolling here. But of course, here on Legacy, we're going to give you our thoughts on the matter. So here's the order. It's going to be each person here. We got Lamont. Then we'll have Robb, then we'll have Cody and Jay, and we'll continue in that order until we hit 32. So all four people will have 8 picks during this first round mock. And then I'm going to send it to our co-host, Mr. Ty Montgomery, at the end. Well, he's going to have Mr. Drew Willingham and James Brown break down the picks at the end of this mock draft. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. First on the board, number 1, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Lamont, where do they go?
With the number 1 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence, quarterback. Clemson University. Robb, you clapping? All right. And the reason for this pick, Darrell, obviously, Trevor's going to be the most accurate, the athleticism and the IQ combination of all the quarterbacks in this draft. His ability to extend plays and to create problems for the defense is uncandid, and it's going to be far beyond the other quarterbacks in this draft. So Trevor's the pick.
So Jacksonville gets their man. They get their quarterback of the future. Now we take you to the second pick, Robb Johnson, the New York Football Jets. Where do they go with this pick?
All righty, and I have all the picks here on my phone. With the number 2 pick, the New York Football Jets select Justin Fields, quarterback, Ohio State. Now, I would have had Kyle Pitts in this spot. I think that the Jets made a huge mistake in getting rid of Sam Darnold. But if you're going to get a guy in Justin Fields, who I think is most ready, 67 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions, He advocated to get back to play college football. He loves football. So the Jets should pick him, because if not, they're pretty much picking a guy in Zach Wilson, who is Sam Darnold.
Interesting. Next, the San Francisco 49ers, who moved all the way up from 12 to 3 to get this one. Cody Stewart, where do the San Francisco 49ers go?
With the third pick, they go Zach Wilson, quarterback, BYU. It's clear they showed their hand a few weeks ago when they made that trade from 12 to 3 with Miami. It's rare that a team trades up into the top 3 without taking a quarterback. Jimmy G been up and down since he's been in San Francisco, so they're looking to bring in a young play caller that will help out that team with that young defense.
Zach Wilson. Can Kyle Shanahan bring out the best in Zach Wilson? We'll see. Next, we got number 4, the Atlanta Falcons. Mr. Jeremiah Quimby, where do they go?
Well, the Atlanta Falcons right now, I mean, they're on the verge of rebuilding. Matt Ryan might have one more year, so they could pull the trigger on a QB here, but there's, 3 just went. There's maybe 4 ifs. But Kyle Pitts, you got to go there. I mean, he is the best. I mean, you can line him up slot, outside. I mean, I could play quarterback and throw the ball to this guy. So this is the can't miss prospect of the offensive side of this class, my opinion.
How dangerous will it be with Kyle Pitts and Julio Jones?
And you always forget Calvin Ridley, man.
And Calvin Ridley, I cannot forget about Calvin Ridley. Very dangerous receiving core. Next, we go to number 5, Lamont, the Cincinnati Bengals. Do they get help on the line?
Cincinnati Bengals with the 5th pick select Penei Sewell, offensive tackle, Oregon University. I believe they're going to go with him because he's probably the most well-rounded of the linemen, with the heavy strength. On the inside, he's dominant in the combo blocks. He can also protect. So, I mean, you're looking at a tough, grueling division where running's going to matter and longevity's going to matter. And this is going to be the pick for the Cincinnati. For the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right, Cincinnati gets some help for Joe Burrow. Now we go to number 6, Mr. Robb Johnson.
Again, we bring out the phone with the number 6 pick. The Miami Dolphins select Jamar Chase. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would have had Devontae Smith here. Everyone knows I love Devontae Smith. But Jamar Chase, you can't deny it. Last game, 9 receptions, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns. Overall in 2019, he had 20 touchdowns, 84 catches, and 1,780 yards. This guy is dynamic, and Tua needs that dynamic player. If he can't make it work with Jamar Chase, Devontae Parker, he is not an NFL quarterback.
So the Dolphins get the receiver that they desperately need. They definitely could use a running back. Let's see if they get that a little bit later on. But now we go to the Lions and the 7th pick. Cody, where do the Lions go?
The Lions, it's a couple of routes that they could go, wide receiver or offensive line. But with the 7th pick, I have them going Rashawn Slater, offensive lineman out at Northwestern. They do need some wide receivers, losing Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones. Got to protect your new investment now in Will Goff with that trade of Matthew Stafford. So I say to go offensive line. And we talked about this before we got on here. Rashawn Slater can play almost everywhere on that line, so he's very versatile for them.
Lions definitely can use help in a lot of places. See how things go for them. Now we go to number 8 in the Carolina Panthers. Jeremiah Quimby, where do the Carolina Panthers go?
Panthers, starting over, rebuilding, can use about anything, but I'm going to go with J.C. Horn, the long corner out of South Carolina. I love what he can play on man, zone, press, and everything. Athletic, just like his father.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that NFL pedigree come through in J.C. Horn with Carolina. Another team that can kind of use a little bit of everything. Now, the Denver Broncos sitting at 9. Lamonte Thomas, this team is a little bit close to your heart. Where did the Denver Broncos go on this one?
The Denver Broncos select Trey Lance, quarterback, North Dakota State. I believe, he does have the footwork, and the upside to be able to scramble for first downs on 3rd down, which is really going to give defenses a fit. He's able to get in and out of the pocket. He has touch and he has accuracy for his deep throws. How he developed, however, is going to determine, if this pick is worth it here.
It's going to be very interesting to see if this pick does happen. I mean, what does that leave for Drew Lock? Definitely a quarterback competition in Denver if that does happen. Now we go to number 10, a team that Rob has said on many occasions, it's his team, but he goes where it pays him first. So the Dallas Cowboys are on the clock where do the Dallas Cowboys go?
I give 5 seconds after that Trey Lance pick. Okay.
Hey,
Now,
I'm not
with
sure what to
number
think.
10 pick, the Dallas Cowboys and Jared Jones select Patrick Surtain II out of Alabama. Patrick Surtain is a great player, 6'2", 203. He'll bring versatility. You already have Diggs. He'll be a player that'll be physical. He's no nonsense. Only 4 interceptions through his career, but that's because they don't throw it his way.
So great pickup there for Dallas. Obviously needing help at the cornerback position. The defense.
How about them Cowboys?
They struggled in the defensive side last year. This would be a great pickup for the Dallas Cowboys. Now we swing to Cody Stewart and the New York Football Giants. Cody, this team is near and dear to your heart. Look at that, 3 back-to-back picks on this one. Cody, where do your New York Football Giants go in this selection?
Looks like we have a little run on Alabama players. The New York Giants with the 11th pick go with the Heisman Trophy winner, wide receiver Devontae Smith. There's a few ways they can go here. They still do need to shore up that offensive line. They do need an edge rusher, but 11 I feel is too early for an edge. So go ahead and give them another wide receiver to pair with Kenny Golladay and Sterling Shepard and try to make that offense as explosive as possible.
That could be very interesting with Golladay and Smith all together there in New York. They're trying to build something special there in New York. At least they're definitely trying. The NFC East should be interesting next year. Talking about the NFC East, now we go to 12. Jay, you're selecting for the Philadelphia Eagles. What's going on in Philly, Jay?
Only God knows. With them, they've cut every wide receiver that did anything. Rager came on-ish, not really. So they're going to draft another Jalen Waddle out of Alabama, so making it 3 in a row Alabama players. They got to give whoever the presumptive quarterback is going to be some weapons.
See, that is a great pick because obviously no Deshaun Jackson. They had Rager. After that, it's like
Jeffries is a free agent. I bet you he comes up and plays in Green Bay.
Yeah. Next, Lamont picking for the hated Los Angeles Chargers in the AFC West. Where do the Chargers go with this pick, Lamont?
I got the Chargers selecting Christian Darrell, offensive tackle, Virginia Tech. Big frame, 6'5". He can pull, he can hit moving targets, good tackle for outside zone runs. He can also pass protect. If he gets his functional strength under him, just look out because he has raw power. So I think Darrell will be the pick for the Chargers.
Getting Herbert a little help on the offensive line can't hurt. I can promise you that. Next, we're going to Rob and the Vikings. Where do they go with this pick?
So it's the draft, so I get some. Introducing the player who's going to go to the Minnesota Vikings.
Kirk Cousins.
No, we don't.
I think
edge rusher, 8 sacks, Jalen Phillips from the University of Miami Hurricanes to the Minnesota Vikings where it's cold, but he's going to warm it up when he sacks Aaron Rodgers every time he plays them. Jalen Phillips to the Minnesota Vikings, the Purple Eaters.
They'll find a way to mess it up. Now we go to number 15, the New England Patriots. Cody, you got the selection here. Where do they go with this pick?
With the 15th pick, the New England Patriots take Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State. Could be one of the best defensive players in this draft, to be honest with you. He can play inside linebacker. He can rush the passer as well. I feel like Bill Belichick will be able to put him all around on the defense and have him go crazy against the AFC East.
Man, it could be scary. It's going to be scary with Parsons in New England. Now we switch to Jay and the Arizona Cardinals. They were on the cusp of making the playoffs this year. How do they get a little bit closer with this pick, Jay?
Well, they need defense. Patrick Peterson, the man that's been there for almost a decade, solidified that shutdown, So they're going to – if he can stay healthy, Caleb Farley is the guy. He's got the speed. Kind of reminds me of Bryce Hall last year coming out of Virginia. Love the way he plays, but he's got to stay healthy.
So the Cardinals go defense on this pick. and they get a chance to replace Patrick Peterson on this one as he went to the Vikings. This is going to be a nice move for the Arizona Cardinals. So now,
there he is.
So now we go to number 17 and the Las Vegas Raiders. Lamont, where do they go with this pick?
The Raiders select Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, linebacker, Notre Dame, all the way from Bethel High School here in Virginia. The guy is a versatile player, Darrell. He can be used versus spread offenses. He makes big plays. He finds the football really fast. He really reminds me of Isaiah Simmons, that type. He can be like a Jeremy Chin, finds the football really quick. He's actually taking reps with the safeties as well. So I got my guy.
I'm glad somebody knows how to say the name. Me and Jay have destroyed this multiple times on the podcast, but we definitely like him as a player.
I know his first name. I got that one down.
Hey, if you don't got the first name right, Jay, then we've got problems. Now we go to number 18. Rob, you get the opportunity to make both picks here for the Miami Dolphins. Where do they go with 18?
For the number 18 pick, the Miami Dolphins select Zaven Collins, underrated linebacker out of Tulsa, the Golden Hurricanes. He had 4 interceptions this past year, 6 overall in his career. He had 85 tackles in 18, 97 total in 19, and 20 he had 54 because COVID and all that stuff. He's a very versatile linebacker. You can put him in different spots. This will be great for the Miami Dolphins to add to their already building defense.
Yeah, that defense is going to be special down there, especially with the way, coaches got things rocking down there in Miami. I love what they're doing in Miami. All those picks, let's see how they do there. Now we go to number 19 and the Washington football team, the NFC East division winners last year at 7-9. Let's see where they go with this one, Cody.
I have the Washington football team taking Elijah Vera Tucker, offensive lineman from USC. He's a very good prospect. I'm not going to put him on the same level of Quentin Nelson, but I think that he could have that type of impact for the football team. And something else we need to look at for Washington, are they ever going to lock up Brandon Sheriff? So many franchise tags have been given out to him. It doesn't look like they're going to give him a contract. So you have to have another person on the offensive line to take over if he does go.
You can't lock up Sheriff.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. That's funny. That's hilarious, Rob. I gotta give you credit for that one. That was funny. Can't lock up the sheriff. I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy. So,
that's great, Rob.
A thing to watch out here for, ladies and gentlemen. There's whispers that they could go quarterback here, and still on our board right now is Mr. Mac Jones. So that would be a very interesting.
Hell no! I don't want to see Mac Jones.
They do need a new sheriff in town. So
they do need a new sheriff in town.
I'd rather see Ryan Fitzpatrick on his walker at 50.
Now we go to number 20. Jay, you're picking for the Chicago Bears. Where do they go with this pick?
Well, knowing the Bears and that there's still a quarterback that's sitting there because they have nobody of relevance to play quarterback in Chicago. They're going Mac Jones, and they're going to throw him into the fire, and then he'll last about 2 years before he becomes a permanent backup.
There.
Those are Bears. He could be driving Mack trucks in Delaware.
Wow. Well, now let's go to number 21 and the Indianapolis Colts, who made the playoffs last year, had the number 1 defense a couple of weeks throughout the season. Where do the Colts go with this one, Lamont?
I got the Colts taking wide receiver Rashad Bateman, Minnesota University. The guy cuts well, has very good feet, tools to play inside, outside. He can be utilized in the short or the long game, which can help, them to have a weapon to establish they can hit over and over again down the field.
That's going to be a fun thing to see right there. More weapons for Carson Wentz. Can't mess this one up, Carson. Just saying. Now we go to number 22 and the Tennessee Titans. Rob, where did Tennessee go with this pick?
That Bateman pick is an underrated great pick, by the way. Now, for number 22, we go to Music City, the Tennessee Titans. Music City Miracle, baby. I got them taking Jamin Davis, Linebacker, Kentucky, 100 total tackles this past year. He had 1.5 sacks and 3 interceptions. This guy's dynamic. He get up the field. Tennessee needs that game changer at linebacker, and I believe that he can do that. Run the ball with King Henry, play tough defense, win the division, move on.
Yeah, I mean, the Titans have done some really good things the last couple of years. Let's see if this pick, who a lot of people think is going to be an amazing pick in the NFL. He's been skyrocketing up the boards. Let's see how that goes. And now we're going to head to Cody as he's doing double duty there, back and forth with the baby girl. Gotta love it. Good dad, girl, dad, girl, dad. Yeah. So, Cody, tell us, where do the Jets go with their second pick here in the first round?
So they already got their quarterback of the future early on. Now they need to look to the defensive side of the ball. I have been going cornerback Greg Newsome II out of Northwestern. I think that he's going to be able to bring something to that secondary that they've been missing for quite a while. So look for them to shore up that secondary with Greg Newsome.
All right. They're getting just a little bit stronger. They got needs everywhere, but this would be a great pickup for the New York Jets. Now we go to Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jay, you're picking for them. Where do they go with this pick?
Well, Steelers got about everything they need right now. They might need a little help in the secondary, but it's been a long time since they've had that go-to guy at running back. You know, James Conner was a great story coming out of Pitt, fought cancer, won, but really fell off. Snell helped a bit. So I got them going with Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama, a guy that can 3-down back, block. I mean, do it all.
There's something about him that screams Pittsburgh. I don't know what it is, but he just screams it. Like, he just looks like he should be a Pittsburgh Steeler.
When he runs pissed off. That's why.
Yeah, and that's the tradition in Pittsburgh. Now we go back to Jacksonville for their second pick in the first round at number 25. Lamont, where do they go with this pick?
Well, they already got their prize in Trevor Lawrence, and now they're going to add to the defensive side of the ball. So I got them picking Trevon Merrick, safety, TCU. The guy's a ball hawk. He can cover the middle of the field and cover a big portion. He's a big play guy. He has a mentality to change the game. And I have him going Merrick at safety.
All right, so Jacksonville growing and getting stronger with Urban Meyer at the helm. Next, we got 26. Rob, the Browns at 26. Where do they go with this pick?
Goodness.
Cleveland Browns, ladies and gentlemen, their offense is stacked. Their defense just needs a plug-in player. So they're going to bring in Quiddy Pay from the University of Michigan. He's been very inconsistent. He's going to go from an inconsistent school to a consistent state with a consistent college team. So he'll get better. He'll get better.
My favorite part is Jay was like, you said it right the first time.
Yes.
Levels of disrespect. The level
of disrespect. So Quiddy Payne goes to the Browns. Already dangerous defensive line, adding Clowney, and they already have Myles Garrett. Oh man, how dangerous can that Cleveland Browns
be? As long as nobody throws a helmet and pops a hamstring, they should be good.
All right, now we go to number 27 and the Baltimore Ravens. Cody, where do Baltimore go with this pick?
They got to get Lamar Jackson some more help offensively. So look for them to target wide receiver Terrace Marshall Jr. out of LSU. Kind of the forgotten wide receiver when you think of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, who've come out of LSU the past couple of years. Look for them to go Terrace Marshall Jr., who has great size. I believe he's at about 6'3", ran a 4.40. Perfect fit for Baltimore and Lamar Jackson.
He needs receiver help. Enough said. Enough said on that one. So this LSU has had a great run of receivers in the NFL. Let's see if Marshall can be another one. Now we are going to head to Jay and the New Orleans Saints.
There's a change of culture. Drew Brees is gone, retired. Jameis Winston, good luck. And so they're going to look to add another wide receiver with Kadarius Toney out of Florida. I just love this kid. He, as they said in Madden, he's got to get away from the cop speed. He's all over the place. He seems to be like Tyreek Hill and find that open zone all the time.
So the Saints get another receiver there to try to help Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill get things going in New Orleans. Now, Lamont, no pressure. Next, number 29, the Green Bay Packers are on the clock. Where do they go with this pick, man?
I'm just trying not to upset you, my brother. We got inside defensive lineman Christian Barmore. All right, Alabama, another Alabama prospect, 6'5", 310. You know, the guy began playing, early. He got some experience as a redshirt freshman. He's only got better since. So he's a guy who's developed. He's developed a real mean inside swim move, and he can cause some real issues in the backfield for a lot of NFL offenses.
Run, stop, run, stop, run, stop, run, stop.
All for you, buddy.
I love the pick, and I thank you for it. Next, we go to number 30, Robb, the Buffalo Bills.
And no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Ladies and gentlemen, now listen, honestly, guys, this is one of my most serious picks. And I'm going to be serious on this for a reason. Bleacher Report has, and give me a little time on this. He said it's hard to justify drafting Najee Harris or Travis Etienne in the first round. The reason I emphasize this, you have to understand something. As great as Trevor Lawrence was, this young man, Travis Etienne, is so good. I mean, think about this, guys. Freshman, 766 yards. Sophomore, 1,658. Junior, 1,614 yards. And 914 his last season. He has 70 touchdowns on the ground. There's a reason that Trevor Lawrence was so good. And I'm telling you, going to Buffalo, adding to that passing game, I'm telling you, this could end up being one of the biggest steals in the first round we probably have seen in a long time, because Buffalo is going to get themselves a dynamic running back. And pairing him with Josh Allen, who can also run, I absolutely love this pick. This is one of my favorite picks in the first round if it happens.
This would be amazing for Buffalo. They've been trying to get things going in that running game. It's not quite been where they needed. Josh Allen's been the guy. And Lamont, quick question. Who did you pick to be the ACC Player of the Year a couple of years ago? Just checking.
That was Travis Etienne.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought, my friend. Now we go to number 31. Now this trade happened a couple of days ago. A big trade, as Orlando Brown heading to Kansas City, where they needed the help big time after they saw their franchise quarterback run for 497 yards backwards during the Super Bowl. So after that, the Ravens have taken this pick from the Chiefs at 31. Cody, where do the Ravens go with this pick?
I have been going and shoring up the defensive side of the ball now, getting them another edge rusher in Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia. 6'2", 250, has almost 35-inch arms, which is crazy. So he'll be able to move a lot of offensive linemen out the way to get to the quarterback. And we know how competitive that AFC North is defensively. So they're going to have to get the Big Ben, Baker, Joe Burrow. So I have him going edge at 31.
And the Ravens are trying to get this thing rocking and rolling, man. But another scenario, we'll ask you this, Cody. Is it a possibility that the Ravens use these two picks to move up?
I can see it. The only thing is I just feel that it's going to take a lot to move into about that top 6 range to get Jamar Chase, because I feel like he is the guy. Everybody else kind of falls in below. So if they want a guy like Devontae Smith, they're going to have to go about top 10. But if they want Jamar Chase, they're going to have to get about top 5.
All right. Now, to finish off this first round mock, I know he's been waiting for me to say this. Give me a second. At number 32, the now reigning world champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jeremiah Quimby. Where do the Buccaneers go with this pick?
Well, for the first time, I can say we don't got a lot of needs. So looking to replace some of the older guys that are, like JPP, Nagami, and Stu. So I'm going to go with the edge rusher out of Penn State, Jason Owen. I mean, he's raw, but with the guys that are there, he can learn. Look what happened when we got Shecker from the Broncos. Just got to leave that there.
All right, y'all.
Yeah, Darrell. I know we're live, and I know that you made the reference to running. One of my sources just texted me and told me if Aaron Rodgers had ran a little more, maybe y'all would have been in the Super Bowl. Ooh.
All right, so that is the end of this first round mock. But
I'm sorry,
we got to go and get some analysis. So, Mr. Ty Montgomery, and we're going to send it over to him now, as he's got two of our analysts, Mr. Drew Willingham and James Brown, to break down our picks. Were they good? Did they like them? What did they like? We're going to find it out. Ty, sending it over to you.
Thanks, Dio. And here I have joining me live, Drew Willingham of Sir Toba Media, who actually covers the Washington football team for us. And alongside Drew is James, I'm Not the Singer Brown, who is our Atlanta Falcon insider. How you fellas doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on, man.
Doing good, Ty. Doing good. Glad to be here and go over some draft stuff with our team, man.
Absolutely. We are all excited about this NFL mock draft that we're about to do, but we're even more excited about the actual NFL draft. So Washington has gone through their fair share of quarterbacks over the years. Alex Smith, who just retired, Dwayne Haskins, who was cut last season. Now they're left with Kyle Allen, who is Ron Rivera's guy. He's been his guy since the Carolina days. Taylor Heineke, who was a fan favorite. He became a fan favorite last year in the playoffs. And newly acquired Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is the dinosaur of the NFL. He's like the journeyman of the NFL. Did Washington make the right move in this mock draft, or should they have traded up to get the quarterback of the future and maybe even select a Mac Jones, who was still on the board?
I like the pick by Washington. You at least the list of quarterbacks for Washington isn't as long as the Cleveland Browns since they came back into the franchise. So we got to give them that. It has been a while since they've had a franchise quarterback. With Kirk Cousins leaving, it's kind of been a little rocky since then. The only really upswing besides Taylor Heineke's couple games last year was Alex Smith coming into the mix before he got hurt. And it was still miraculous to see what he did last year, especially with carrying Aaron Donald on his back like that. I mean, we got to give it up to the man who's got like a thigh, is a hamstring or is a calf or whatever the deal was with that. Got to give Alex Smith his props. But I really like the pick by Washington, not making a stretch like they did back when they got Robert Griffin III. I think they learned from that when they traded all those years of first-round picks to get him and then see what that happens. And then you pick up a Taylor Heineke off the street, and he does what he did last year when he barely had any action since leaving Old Dominion. I think that they made the right move by bringing in Fitz magic. I hope we could see some magic there in Washington. Maybe groom Heineke a little bit. They keep him as a second string, and maybe with that experience with Fitzpatrick can help Heineke get to the next level. I really like the pick that our mock draft made with Washington here in the first round.
I agree. It was a good pick, and you got to have protection for any quarterback who's going to be starting for a football team in the NFL. So they did make the right selection with that mock pick with Elijah Vera Tucker. Now, James, speaking of quarterback, Matt Ryan, he's been around for quite some time now. He's pretty much been the guy since day one. Now, he's sort of on the back end of his career, but he still has enough left in the tank to win. They select Kyle Pitts with that number 4 pick in this mock draft. Was this the right move for the Atlanta Falcons, James?
The way the board looked out, you did have Lance available still on the clock at 4. I feel like it all depends on how the Falcons draft board looked. Here they decided to go with Pitts. I can't really say I dislike the pick. I mean, Kyle Pitts, generational tight end, guy has a huge catch radius, makes play after play down there in Gainesville. If he is the pick at 4 for Atlanta, you have a playmaker from day one who can step in and provide action and access for Matt Ryan. He can be the security blanket over the middle, but can also stretch the field. So I'll say if Pitts is the pick at 4, Atlanta's got a gamer.
I agree. And, free agency this past year, it's been hot. And we've seen a lot of major names leave major teams this offseason. So adding another piece to that offense, getting that offense to a totally different level with a unique guy like Kyle Pitts who can move around all across the field. You can go after a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers next season, in the offseason that is. So this would be interesting in Atlanta. So
can I throw one thing out there real quick?
Sure, absolutely.
With Atlanta, I like that pick too, and I like what James had to say with that. I mean, since Tony Gonzalez leaving, and then they had Austin Hooper for a little bit,
yep.
Tight end's kind of been a weakness for Atlanta for a while. So I really do like that pick at 4 for them.
Yeah, great pick. So, Drew, we had our first 32 picks in this first round for this mock draft. Give me 3 picks that stood out to you.
As far as the ones that I like, I would say number 2, I like Justin Fields going to the Jets. They've had the woes at quarterback for quite some time, even going back to butt fumble over 10 years ago. They've had the woes there. Sam Darnold just wasn't getting it done, but also quarterback's not going to be the only position that they need to upgrade at. But in order to kind of fill that void for right now, since Darnold has gone to Carolina, I think that they made the right pick with the number 2 pick. As far as my next one, I would say at number 7, Rashawn Slater out of the offensive tackle. I really like that pick at number 7. And I really like the number 21 pick of Rashad Bateman at wide receiver going to the Colts, where they just got Carson Wentz. They really need some help on offense there. They had Phillip Rivers last year, who was definitely on the downfall of his career, but they had some weapons around him, but they still needed some help with wide receiver, another guy to throw in the slot. So I think that those 3 picks, those would be the 3 that really stand out to me that I like in the first round.
Yeah, absolutely. That Rashawn Slater pick was right on the nail right there, because Jared Goff's there now. He's not the most mobile quarterback in the NFL, but he can sling the rock and he can get the ball to those wide receivers that they do have left in Detroit, that is. So, James, give me your top 3 picks that stood out to you in this first round of the mock draft.
Certainly. So if we look at the first round, if we start off with pick 5, I love what Cincinnati did with taking Penei Sewell out of Oregon. You look at it, he's a big offensive tackle coming from that West Coast system over in the Pac-12 at Oregon. He's a pass blocker. He can also get it done in the run game as a mauler. I think him going 5 to Cincinnati is perfect. He can help come in from day one, help keep Joe Burrow upright, because if you look at it last season, Burrow's season was cut short due to a devastating ACL injury. And if you go back and look at the tape, it did come from the left side. Now, I do know they have Jonah Williams there as their tackle for this point, but if they do take Sewell at 5, you can kick Williams into left guard or even kick him to right tackle, and that can help shore up that offensive line on the left side if you do happen to move him to guard, so that you can prevent Burrow's future injuries, hopefully, and keep him upright to make sure he can get the ball down the field to those playmakers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look to our next pick. Going to the next pick, I do like Jalen Phillips going off the board at 14 to the Minnesota Vikings. You got to look at it. This past offseason, there was some talk with Danielle Hunter possibly wanting to move on from the team, whether that be via trade or if he wanted to ask for his release. Getting Phillips in the first round at 14, you can ensure that you do have a pass rusher there to possibly replace Hunter or to help build that pass rush, because we do know Minnesota loves their defense and they love their pass rushers. And then if we go on with our third pick that I liked in the first round, we got to go down to 27. I love the fact that the Ravens front office has gotten Lamar Jackson a weapon on the outside and Terrace Marshall Jr. You got to look at it. What has the Ravens offense been struggling with? The passing game. Why? Lamar has a lack of a threat on the outside that is a big target for him to throw the ball down the field to, but also the underneath routes. I feel like Terrace Marshall can come in from day one. If he can get that chemistry and that rhythm with Lamar Jackson, he can be the target for the future for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes, I totally agree. You know, in Baltimore, we think of them as a run-first team, which they are. But for them to take that next step, they definitely will need some help at the wideout position. Hollywood Brown, he's been phenomenal. He's been quite the piece for the Baltimore Ravens, but they need more. And they tried to bring in a Dez Bryant, who probably a couple years too late of bringing him in. He's not the same as he was in Dallas, and it was clear for everyone to see that. So that pick at 27 for the Baltimore Ravens, I agree. That's going to be a good pick. But James, tell me this. What about 3 picks in this draft that you just didn't agree with, that just didn't sit well with you and made you kind of scratch your head?
Definitely. Kicking things off, number 11, the New York Football Giants taking Devontae Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama. I just don't agree with the pick, Ty. I mean, you have to look at it. This offseason, you had the Giants bring in Kyle Rudolph at tight end, John Ross at wide receiver, and also the big fish, Kenny Golladay at wide receiver. Why are you taking a pass catcher at number 11, especially when you have your run of the board on defensive prospects? You have Michael Parsons on the board. You have Jalen Phillips on the board. If you liked another pass rusher, Kwity Paye out of Michigan, they're all there. And if you look at that defensive side of the ball, your only pass rusher is Leonard Williams in the middle. You need an edge presence. And the Giants had the opportunity to take one, and they missed on it. They didn't get the job done there. So that's one pick I just do not agree with. And if we look at a second pick, I feel like Mac Jones going to the Bears at 20, kind of a bit of a reach there. I mean, we do know Chicago does need a quarterback of the future, but you did sign Andy Dalton in the offseason. Andy Dalton is a capable starter in this league. And if you're Chicago, you need to win games, because if they don't, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy will be finding themselves a new place to call home next season, because they're going to be out of Chicago. And I feel like at 20, you could have taken a chance to get a playmaker, maybe the wide receiver position, because you do have Allen Robinson, who is on his franchise tag, but he isn't too happy there in the Windy City. So he may be looking to leave. And you need somebody on the opposite side that can either help him get the ball and help him get down the field and less coverage, or you need to find somebody else that can come in, make plays, maybe an offensive lineman, maybe somebody on your defense. But I feel 20 is too much of a reach to take a Mac Jones type of quarterback, who many don't even see being the best quarterback in this class and possibly having the lowest ceiling of any quarterback in this class. It's just too much of a reach for me there at 20. And then finally, if we look at pick number 30, Travis Etienne going to the Buffalo Bills. I mean, running back from the first round, as we've seen of late, it's not the best thing to go off. But not only that, if you're Buffalo, you've already invested the draft capital in Devin Singletary, Zach Moss. And at 30, you have a chance to take a pass rusher. We saw Owe go 32 to the Bucks. If you're Buffalo, your bread and butter is not only on that offensive side, that defense is something in Buffalo. And if you can add to that to help a young quarterback like a Josh Allen get more possessions, you can win games. So I feel Buffalo should have definitely went with someone on the defensive side at 30.
Yes, James, that pick for the New York Football Giants, 11, Devontae Smith, the wide receiver out of Alabama. It just didn't make sense to me either. That offense is fully loaded. They picked up, as you mentioned, Kyle Rudolph. They got Galloway from the Detroit Lions this offseason. And they're a running team. They're going to pound the ball to Saquon Barkley. He is going to be the main focal point of that offense. So why would you go after another wide receiver such as Devontae Smith? I just don't understand that pick either. Drew, what do you think? Give me 3 picks that you just didn't think or agree with at all for these teams to pick.
Right before I get into those 3 picks, I need to state a fact about this mock draft.
Mm-hmm.
This mock draft in the first round, 1/3 of it, actually over 1/3 of this mock draft has got 11 picks that consist of wide receivers and quarterbacks. It's either like 6 wide receivers and 5 quarterbacks or vice versa. Have we ever seen that in a draft in the first round before? I can't remember a time where we saw that. That's where I think the biggest head scratcher is for me. And I'll start with one of them, because you have the top 3 picks as quarterbacks in the first round. Number 3 was Zach Wilson, the quarterback going to San Francisco. You've got Kyle Shanahan, the coach there, who's supposed to be a quarterback guru, and you made all that stuff, all the trade stuff for Jimmy G. You got Jimmy G there, even though he hasn't been producing that much over the past few seasons because he's been hurt. So I give him that, which everybody goes through injury woes. So I get it, but I think they're really quick to make the move on getting away from Jimmy G and going with somebody like Zach Wilson when there's other pieces on the team that they need to focus on besides using a first round pick and trading up like they did to get Zach Wilson at 3. I don't agree with that. The next one would be Horn at 8 going to Carolina, the cornerback. I feel like that there's some more pieces on that offense that they need help with. Yes, they've got Teddy Bridgewater and they got Sam Darnold now, and they've got McCaffrey coming back from the injury, as a running back. But I feel like, since Greg Olsen left, they need a big move, kind of like the Falcons made at number 4 with Pitts. I feel like that they should be the one looking at somebody that could be a tight end or kind of a slot guy to kind of help out with their offense a little bit. And plus, their defense does need a little help too. And then at my 3rd pick that I don't really agree with would be at number 12 with Jalen Waddle. If things do not work out at number 11 with the New York Football Giants and they don't take Devontae Smith, I feel like if the Eagles are going to take a wide receiver in the first round, Devontae Smith would be the guy, because like James said, they've got Kenny Golladay and Rudolph and all these other pieces there. And for the Giants, they really need to be focusing more on the O-line rather than going to go get more wide receiver help, which they've already spent the free agency doing that. I feel like they needed to pass on Devontae Smith, let the Eagles take him at 12. And Jalen Waddle, I think that was a little bit too much of a stretch for that. He can probably go down to about 15 or 16 with that pick. Those are my 3 dislikes that I don't really like with the first round of this draft.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the Philadelphia Eagles, health has not been on their side over the years. And we've seen it last season with Jalen Reagor. He was a good wide receiver. He still has a lot of potential, but he missed a ton of games for the Philadelphia Eagles last season, a position of need for this Eagles team, and he just wasn't available. And the best ability is availability. So, fellas, Drew, give me 3 sleepers that you think are going to be in this top 32 picks in this mock draft.
Well, first, I'd start with the quarterback out of Stanford, Davis Mills. Yes, I just went through that spiel of all those quarterbacks and wide receivers going in the first round. And with sleepers, we don't expect them to go in the first few rounds. It's more or less towards the latter part of the draft, kind of like a Tom Brady-esque where they get picked in the latter part of the round or the latter part of the draft, and then they become somebody. Not saying Davis Mills is going to be the next Tom Brady or anything, but I really do like the potential from that guy, seeing his footage of him playing at Stanford. At number 2, I got to go with Richie Grant, the safety out of Central Florida. He's elusive. He would definitely be a spark to a defense that needs help at the safety position. I would definitely go with him as my next sleeper. And for the third one, I would say Cade Johnson, the wide receiver out of South Dakota State. Any team that needs wide receiver help that doesn't want to spend a pick here in the first 3 to 4 rounds of the draft, I'd say look for him between rounds 5 and 7 and look for him to be somebody that could be productive, kind of like a Terry McLaurin is in Washington, not as far up as a pick, but somebody who's kind of flown under the radar that you don't know much about that could be like McLaurin here in the next few years. I like him as my third sleeper pick.
Nice. James, give me 3 sleepers in this first draft.
Definitely. So going off that UCF train, University of Central Florida, I like cornerback Tay Gowan. I mean, if you look at Gowan's size, at 6'2", he's a big physical corner. And if we look at today's NFL, you need those guys on the outside to match up against these great talented receivers. So I like his frame at 6'2". I do feel like he could put on a few more pounds, and that way, that'll help him out with his tackling technique as well. But if he manages to get that done right and he goes to the right defensive team with a great scheme, I feel like he could be a definitely sleeper found in this draft. If we look at my second guy, I like Walker Little, the offensive tackle out of Stanford. Now, I know a lot of people didn't see him because he tore his ACL in 2019 and they had the 2020 opt-out due to COVID. But this is a guy who potentially could have been our first-round offensive tackle taken in this year's draft, maybe even behind Penei Sewell. And at this point, you could possibly get him maybe the second, third round. I feel like he's a guy who definitely he can come in, get in his offensive line. He could play left tackle. He could play right tackle. You could even kick him in the guard. So I definitely like Walker Little, and I like the potential he can bring to a team. For my third guy, got to go with the wide receiver. I like Jalen Darden out of North Texas. If you look at it, Darden is on the smaller side. He's a little bit more quicker than he is fast. But if you're talking about a guy that is shifty, it can make plays and make people miss an open field, Darden's your man.
Nice. Well, we'll see what happens. We don't know what the sleeper pick of this draft will be, but anybody can make a career out of anything in this first round or even this entire draft. Darrell, we'll send it back to you. Thanks, Dio.
All right. Thank you, Ty, man. We appreciate that feedback on those picks. And now we're going to go and talk about the sleepers, those guys, those people that are those diamonds in the rough. Each one of our guys have 3 players that they say, hey, you got to watch out for them and see where they land and see what type of impact they're going to have in the NFL. First, let's start off with Mr. Jay Quimby. Jay, tell us about your sleepers.
Well, my first one is John Bates, tight end out of Boise State. 2018, 2019, he was on the Mackey Award list. Small school. Everybody remembers back when Ian Johnson proposed to his girlfriend after the win. But, it's been kind of a forgotten school. Great tight end. This draft is actually pretty decent tight end wise. There's a couple that you get, but this guy's third day guy could easily become a Galicki type player down in Miami. My other guy is Tariq Thompson, safety from San Diego State. About 6 foot. He is a tweener. He is a bullet. He's one of those guys that you could use in Tampa to help stop the run, or in Green Bay. I mean. Sorry. And my last guy is very small school from a Division II school. Chris Garrett from Concordia, outside linebacker. Over 3 seasons, he had 48 tackles for losses, 35 sacks, 15 forced fumbles, which is a record. Kind of like an Alex Highsmith type of player that now plays with the Steelers.
Love that. Love that. Now, Lamont, give us your 3.
All right, sleepers. First, I got Nico Collins, wide receiver, Michigan. I just believe he's a guy he's tough. You know, he can play in the slot. He can get open. He can be a possession guy for you. So I do believe that Nico Collins is a good guy. I got next my running back, Jamar Jefferson, Oregon State. This guy was second, I think, in the Pac-12 with rushing this year. 5'10", 210, a downhill runner, a bruiser. He's actually he was really close to being the top at yards after contact. So look out for a guy like that. And then I got my last one's it's a cheater. He might go first round. But I really like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and the reason why is because you can place him in different spots in the defense. So I think depending on where he goes and where they place him, he can be back there in the safety spot. He can come up and play linebacker. He can really meet the offensive ball carrier. So that's my guy.
Well,
Koramoah.
I think Lamont just wanted another opportunity to say his name again.
That too.
Very impressive. Very impressive. Rob, where do you go with your 3 sleepers?
All right, since I've been so awesome so far, I'm gonna just do it like this. Milton Williams, Louisiana Tech defensive tackle. They got people looking at him, so that's good enough for me. Spencer Brown, Northern Iowa tackle. I think he'd be pretty decent going to the league. And then Jamie Newton, Wake Forest / Georgia. If they get a chance to play, they'll do well because I said so. Boom.
Now, I will say this. I like Newton. I got a chance to see Newton play against Virginia Tech last year, season before last. And his body size, he's not as tall as Dante Culpepper, but that's who he reminds me of.
So question.
Yes.
So you're saying I'm a genius?
Not yet.
That's all. Hey,
essentially,
listen,
look.
That's a stretch.
That's all I need to know. Hey, the only stretch around here is Flubber, and I'm great. Bye-bye.
All right, now we go to Cody Stewart and his sleepers, and he's got Ava here to help him with the picks.
So my first sleeper is Ben Cleveland, offensive lineman out of Georgia. He's country strong, man. Like that, he's like built on a farm. This guy, he is 6'6", 343 pounds. Plug him up in the interior of that offensive line, man, and he's going to do great things for your team. My second sleeper is Austin Watkins, wide receiver out of UAB. Had a great season in 2019, over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. Fell off a little bit in his senior year, so I think that's kind of why he's dropped down the boards a little bit. But he's 6'3", 210 pounds, very fast. I think he's going to be about a 5th or 6th round steal for somebody. And then finally, I have Patrick Jones, the second edge rusher out of Pittsburgh. When this all started, everybody was saying maybe late first, early second. Didn't have the best of pro days. It's going to drop him down probably to about the 4th round. But this guy has past 2 seasons in Pittsburgh combined 17.5 sacks, 23.5 tackles for a loss. He can put his hand in the ground. He can come off the edge standing up. He is going to wreak havoc for whichever team he goes to.
I think that is an absolute joke because Patrick Jones, I had him in my first round. I think I still have him there because, you talking about the pro days and all this. He's not a practice player. He's from Pittsburgh, which means he's going to wreak havoc on his defense. I don't know, man. Cody, you know what? You're the man, but you know what?
So I guess before we get off of here, I'll give you my sleepers. And I got my 3 sleepers. One, I got Shane Forsythe, the guard from Florida. He can play all over the line. Son of former NFL player, Rich Forsythe. So I think he's got that NFL pedigree, but he can play all over the line. And so he did block for Flask. I know I destroyed that, but anyway, he blocked for Kyle Flask last year. So he will be, I think, a good guy that you can get in the third round. Number 2, I got Charles Snowden. Now he got hurt. He out of Virginia. He got hurt during the season. He's going to be a high energy player, but he is going to have to be in that 3-4 defense. And so he needs to be in a 3-4 defense where he can really shine and go through. But the kid's got talent to see what he goes and what he can do there. And the last one I have is a guy who I think if he'd have came out 2 years ago would have been a top 10 receiver. And that's Tamaron Terry from Florida State University. 6'4", talented. A couple years ago, myself and Russ Telefero, wait a minute. Me and Russ was at that game, and we saw him go up against Bryce Hall, and it was a battle all game. The kid is talented, and somebody's going to get a steal in the 6th, maybe 5th, between the 5th and 7th round in Terry.
Hey, Darrell, your second sleeper, as long as you don't turn into a spy, you're good.
You know what? That's funny. That's a good one. No, we don't got time for spies, man. WikiLeaks. All right, everybody. That is it for the 4th annual Legacy Sports Network NFL first round mock. I want to thank everybody who's been involved in the show. We got our man Ty, James Brown, also Drew Willingham, and then my amazing guys here, Jay Quimby, Lamonte Thomas, Robb Johnson, and Mr. Cody Stewart. Guys, I really appreciate it. Jay, anything you want to say before we go?
No, just Ava, thank you for keeping your dad humble and headbutting him.
Lamonte, anything you want to say before we go?
I appreciate all you guys, and Rob, it's definitely been a pleasure, man, for you to sit with the great one.
Rob, anything?
I gotta go put some shoes on. The shit getting deep.
You said what again, Darrell? Say again, Darrell?
It's all you. It's all you.
Oh, I just want to say, everyone, good time, and Lamont, I make that shot over you.
he went back to the summertime on that one. That's classic.
We know who won the game of 21, baby.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because at the end, I dominated a munchkin.
That's hilarious. Now, let's swing it over to Cody. Cody, anything you want to say before we go, brother?
Dave Gettleman, please don't mess this draft up, man. Please. The Giants, I feel like they're right there. Please don't mess this up, man.
Hey. That's like asking J-Lo to not mess up a marriage.
Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I got to agree with Cody. Please, Green Bay, don't mess up this draft. I'm Darrell Owens. This is our squad. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Draft.